And welcome back here to a brand new episode of the Hard Count here, the last one for 2025. I am Mesa Costa. Time to bring in my colleagues here, the Hall of Fame coach Tony Grijalva and Gabe Grijalva. Gentlemen, it's been a while since we've been back on the air, but we're back. One, Merry Christmas and get ready for a new year. But gentlemen, how has it been so far these past couple weeks?
Well, it's been great. The holidays have been well, and again, getting back on the air and talking football. That's always fun.
Gabe?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Had a good holiday and anxious to get back. Talked a little bit about a lot of things have changed since the last time we were on. So looking forward to talking about that and continuing on with the show.
A lot of things, especially the Bears, have really turned some heads since when we talked week one. And of course, the Cowboys, Steelers, Packers, all surprisingly in all different directions here. But we want to let you know what's going to be taking place here as we get ready. It is the last week of the year 2025, and that means the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl will be happening as well. That game will be taking place Wednesday at noon. I will be there along with the Hall of Fame coach and Coach, it's going to be a good one. We'll talk more in depth a little bit later on the show, but already Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl here, which means year 2026 is upon us.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I'm looking forward to the matchup. It's a pretty good matchup. Of course, with the scenery nowadays, that opt outs and transfers and all that good stuff. It's kind of hard to tell who's going to show up. So we'll go to the game, we'll see who shows up, and then we'll watch them play. All you can do.
Well, we'll watch them play, but let's get into some action here in a very, very crazy week 17 that was for the NFL. And Gabe, let's start off here with a game that, well, actually, Coach, I know you're kind of frustrated. The Carolina Panthers and the, no, Uh, I'm sorry, the Dallas Cowboys and the Washington Commanders, a game which had some playoff implications maybe early on, but Cowboys end up winning it, but still going to be short of making that postseason run, Coach.
Yeah, you look at the Cowboys. They want to finish strong. There was talk about sitting some players down, and that's always talk at this point in the season. But you look at that game that was played on Thursday. The Cowboys started off hot and scoring, put some points on the board, and they look pretty good. The Redskins look like the way the Redskins have been playing all season. But then in the second half, things changed. The running game started clicking for the Commanders, and things started getting a little bit too close for the Cowboys. One of the things again that stuck out in my mind is gosh, and I his name escapes me. The field goal kicker for the Cowboys, he missed another field goal. I mean, he that's like three, I think, in the last couple of weeks, which is unheard of. Because he's always very accurate, but nonetheless, it ended up being a close game. But the Cowboys had enough offense to run out the clock there and get that win.
It was certainly a crazy one there. That whole Christmas Day special was just, kind of
Yep.
bonkers with the Vikings, knocking off the Lions there, Gabe. How interesting that matchup was for the Vikings getting that much needed win.
Yeah, Detroit was still in the hunt for a playoff spot. You would think, and they were coming off a loss, but you would think, well, they're playing against a backup quarterback. If they've got a lot to play for, that they would show up. But boy, it really did catch you by surprise that they didn't show up at all. All those players, Gibbs and St. Brown, all these guys, these guys that put up points left and right during the season, they didn't do much of anything. Jared Goff looked like, boy, like he had regressed some, and so yeah, I was pretty surprised that Minnesota took it to him, and Detroit just didn't show up. That was really surprising to me.
A team that we talked a lot during the season winning those close games were the Denver Broncos. And again, against the homeless Chiefs there, they still get that close victory over the Chiefs 20-13. Broncos, like you guys said, securing that number one spot, I believe. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Especially with the news that came out just a little while ago that Coach Harbaugh of the Chargers is going to sit his quarterback and some of the other players, which and they do face the Broncos next week, and that pretty much gives the number one seed to the Broncos. You know, the only thing that really still worries me is I really don't like the way the Broncos are playing right now, going into the playoffs. They're winning, you know, which is good. That's fine, but Bo Nix, I think he's having problems. He's having problems staying in the pocket. Of course, a lot has to do with the being able to get that offense rolling. And right now they're struggling a little bit, but they're going to have the number one seed. They're going to have home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and we'll see how well they do.
And another team that, like I said, since it's been a while since we've been on air, the Houston Texans making that turnaround from a very, very rough start that they had early on the season, but knocking off the Chargers 20-16 there, Gabe. Houston, can they make a run?
When you have a defense like Houston does, yeah, they can. They just need the offense, to play average. They don't have to do anything spectacular. And they can rely on their defense, and defense travels. So, they got to go on the road. They're going to be a challenge. They're a really interesting team. You know, this week they had a couple of big plays, big passes to start the game. They're up 14-0. I mean, I thought, man, what a it's going to be a blowout, but that's pretty much all they did. They didn't do anything else,
Yeah.
but they didn't need to. You know, the Chargers, had some trouble. Herbert was getting hit left and right, and of course their kicker failed them because Dicker, the kicker, missed an extra point and a field goal. That if he
Right.
hits them both, it's a tie ball game, and we're looking at overtime. But so like I said, Houston with that defense, they can hang in there with just about anybody.
And again, a shocking for what people perceived, for the first part of the year of who are your top teams. You just throw that out the window because a lot of that's not, panning out as the Packers struggling here, uh, getting knocked off by the Ravens 41-24. Obviously, Jordan Love did not play in this game. Uh, Green Bay Super Bowl favorites early on in the year. Now it's just struggling, making that playoffs.
They are, and they do miss Jordan Love. That goes without saying. But these are two teams that are cold weather teams. They both know how to play in the cold, and they were playing in the cold this past week. But one of the thing that's puzzling to me is looking at the Ravens offensively. We talk about the defense, a lot of injuries, and they're not playing up to par. But offensively, when you have a running back like Derrick Henry, and all of a sudden you're giving him the ball, and then for some reason in the fourth quarter, you keep him on the bench. It's hard to figure that one out. But he's got he runs the ball. You got to give him the ball. That's going to be part of the offense, especially if Lamar Jackson doesn't play. I don't know what the status is for this next week coming up. But if he's not on the field, then Derrick Henry should get 20 touches or more in that ball game against a very good Steeler defense who they will be playing next week.
Exactly, especially the football gods wanting that game between Pittsburgh and Baltimore on Sunday night. Winner gets the playoff spot there. King Henry versus that Steeler defense is going to be a good matchup. And then, of course, Aaron Rodgers at the helm there. But, coaches, we talked about it yesterday watching some of the games. They don't have Metcalf out there, and that's a big, big difference.
It was, and yeah, and you could tell, especially in that last drive. I mean, trying to throw the ball down the field. It's very not only that they also had their other receiver was missing, Austin. He was missing
Austin.
as well.
Mhm.
He was their second choice, and I mean, just nothing. Glidewell. I'm sorry. The running backs with Warren. I mean, they just
And
they
Gabriel.
couldn't do anything.
It's going to be an interesting one there. Those were the Thursday and Saturday games. When we come back from the break, we'll talk more Sunday action there. This is the Hard Count. You're watching it live right here on EP Sports Network. welcome back here. As that was a video of Arizona State arriving here at the Sun Bowl, Tony and Tiger Sun Bowl there, as the hospitality here in El Paso is one of the most unique ones throughout the whole ball college scene, and the players getting treated to that unexpected welcoming, which is very cool to see there, Coach.
Yeah, no, it really is. Yeah, taking a look at all the clips that were out there about their arrival. I mean, it's really cool, and especially the pictures that show Jake Fetty, who I mean, probably was on cloud nine, knowing that he gets his first practice at the college level in his hometown. So, I mean, I think that was probably really special for him and his family as well.
Very special on that. Like I said, we'll have more of the 92nd Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl game happening New Year's Eve at noon at the Sun Bowl here. And, Coach, as we go into the next game here, the Buccaneers versus the Dolphins. Dolphins obviously making that quarterback change there, getting the win over the Bucs 20-17. And just what's happening to Tampa Bay? Tampa Bay early on, we thought
My
Baker
gosh.
Mayfield was an MVP candidate, but now we can't see him.
Yeah. No, I mean it's been really bad. Tampa Bay is 0-7. It was 0-7 coming into this game when Mayfield threw an interception, and there were 7-1 when he did not throw a pick. And obviously, yesterday he did throw a pick, and he threw the ball I think 44 times in that ball game. What's strange to me is that you're talking about the Miami Dolphin defense. I don't know. It just we've been watching the Miami. I've been watching the Miami defense for 16 weeks now, and it's really they really haven't been that impressive. But you asked the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and aside from the fact that it was an important game for Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay could have pretty much clinched a playoff berth. Maybe they don't want to go to playoffs. I mean, I don't know. They've got a big game coming up next week. That's going to determine that. But going into the playoffs with a sub 500 record, I mean, I don't know. How can you build any momentum like that?
It is crazy. Like I said, Buccaneers, not what we expected to finish out the year so far. Quick score update: New England 42 over the Jets 10. As we move to a game that had obviously some big implications, as the Pittsburgh Steelers could clinch the division with the win, falling to the Browns 13-6. I think a lot of the headlines was they were more worried about Myles Garrett breaking the sack record, that they kind of forgot that they got to win a football game there, huh, Gabe?
Well, that's what they were saying, but there to me the reality is anytime you're playing Myles Garrett, you're going to do everything you can to avoid him. So whether the sacks had something to do with it or not, I'm not too sure. But he kind of thought so. But Aaron was just running for his life, didn't want anything to do with Garrett. But yeah, a pretty surprising game. Uh, Even though Pittsburgh really didn't do much of anything, neither did Cleveland. I think they had like 190 yards of total offense, and Pittsburgh had something like 300 and something. But it came down to the play at the end. You thought Aaron Rodgers is going to be Aaron Rodgers, is going to pull this out at the end of the game, and they certainly weren't in position to do that. But that's when you notice that. They don't have Metcalf on the field, and it was really apparent that they had him, there at the end. I think there's a pretty good chance they could have pulled that game out, but now they have to go and try and win another game without Metcalf again,
Yep.
against the Ravens. So that's going to be pretty tough.
What an interesting thing for Rodgers. You leave Green Bay, obviously not by his choice. They wanted to go a different route, but just going through that scenario, if Rodgers was still with that squad, with the talent they had at Green Bay, what they will look like. Comes to the Steelers teams that had some pretty good, players here, but now, like I said, they're looking for receivers, and nobody wants to catch the ball. It's a tough one there for number 8 and the Pittsburgh Steelers, who I might add that still Tomlin does not have a losing record in his coaching career
Yep.
at Pittsburgh, which is still good, even though people are calling for his head there. As we'll get to a little bit later on, there's a lot of other teams that are struggling a lot worse than what Mr. Tomlin is up there in Pittsburgh. Speaking
Yeah,
of
that's
which,
true.
Speaking of which, early in the year, the Indianapolis Colts were one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Jacksonville was struggling trying to find their identity with all the stuff going on. Now, the Colts are struggling, going to 8-7, and the Jaguars 11-4, and the Jaguars knocking off the Colts 23-17. Their coach, what a tale of two different sides of the coin.
Well, yeah, I remember sitting here in this chair talking to you guys earlier in the season, going, I mean, the Indianapolis Colts are the best team in the NFL. The way that they were playing, of course, that was a couple of months ago. Things have changed, and I mean, it's kind of tough to win any ball games with, even though he may be a future Hall of Famer, but a 44-year-old quarterback. I mean that's really tough. And not for lack of trying, because I really like to see him with that short game. Him and Aaron Rodgers, and you put those two guys together, and that the age is over 80, but you know they they're experienced quarterbacks. They know how to run an offense, and those that short passing game, you know it creates havoc with the defense. So I would like to see more of that modern, because nowadays everybody wants to throw it 80 yards, throw it deep every play. And sometimes you gotta take what the defense gives you. And I think that those are two good examples of quarterbacks that know how to do that. The only difference is, time has caught up with them, and you got to be able to throw more than 25 yards deep in order to stretch the defense a little bit. But a lot of credit to the Indianapolis Colts. And then all of a sudden, you've got a running back that's really going towards breaking some records, a high level in Jonathan Taylor, and all of a sudden it just stops. And that offense really struggled there after they lost Daniel Jones.
It is, and speaking of which, how good does that make Tom Brady at the age that he performed at a high level
Exactly.
there, as these other quarterbacks are struggling, to say the least. As we go into another game, that's, I guess, pretty. Those two teams in the beginning, the Saints and the Titans, struggling so much early on. This game was back and forth, but New Orleans picking up the victory there, 34-26 there, Gabe. As it looks like we got Gabe frozen there, Coach.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that caught up a little bit,
Okay, we're
but
back.
no,
there he
there he
is. There's
is.
Gabe.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you can hear me now.
Yeah, we can hear you
Yes.
now.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Yeah. This game was kind of more of a peek into the future. Like, both the young quarterbacks, are they going to be the quarterbacks of the future for those franchises? New Orleans has been playing pretty well the last, say 4 or 5 weeks, and Cam Ward's been improving as well. So this game was just kind of a look into the future as far as what they have going for them going forward. And New Orleans, they've been playing well, and they pulled it out there, towards the end. But to me, it was just a game of let's see what we got, and let's see what we have to work with, and we'll see what we have to build on. So the fact that New Orleans won to me wasn't really a big deal. It was just the fact that both teams kind of played well, and it bodes well for the future.
It does, and good thing for New Orleans because they were struggling, obviously going through all those different quarterbacks, and to see them make some progress there is pretty good, which is kind of scary because that division next year, I mean, it's still wide open. It's still wide open in that
Right.
division. As we move on here to the red hot Seahawks knocking off the Carolina Panthers 27-10 there. Seattle making waves, but still not drawing as much headlines as being one of the top teams in the NFC there. Coach, what impresses you most about those Seahawks?
Well, to me, it's just their inconsistency, because there's times on offense where they can move the ball down the field. Sam Darnold does a good job of looking for his receivers, and then they have Najigma, so that always helps. But sometimes the running game just doesn't really work out. I mean, you got Charbonneau, who is a great short yardage back, but he's not really going to break anything. You need the speed that in order to do that. So I think they're a little bit inconsistent there. They might end up with the number one seed, but I think it's going to be a challenge for them, even if they have a home game. You've got some other teams there in the NFC that I believe are playing a little bit better football, and maybe that'll be that might make a difference. But for now, the Seahawks have done what they needed to do to get into this position going into the playoffs.
For a team that's struggling on trying to play good football is the Arizona Cardinals, 3-12, falling flat against the Cincinnati Bengals, 37-14. Their coach. What can be done in Arizona? Obviously, their quarterback situation is still a mess, but just overall, they are not playing like a team that has some confidence at all.
No, and especially defensively as well. It's one of the things that surprised me the most about the Cardinals. It's just defensively, they're tackling, just doing the basic things. I think they've fallen behind on that. They did, as you mentioned, did have a good quarterback. Murray went down early in the season, and I thought that Brissett did a great job in leading the Cardinals. I mean, he's a fun quarterback to watch because he throws the ball all over the field, and if you like that type of offense, it's fun to watch. But they lost the running backs, a couple of running backs. Harrison, they lost him as well. I mean, the only constant was McBride. And Wilson. Wilson had a good game there, or a good season there towards the end. But I think the Cardinals, I don't know if they might need a coaching change, but they definitely need a player personnel upgrade.
They do. And Gabe, in the fantasy area, did you get Joe Burrow back on your team? He went down early on there, and he's back. He's back. Is he on your squad?
No, I wasn't. I didn't put him on our IR spot. I just dropped him thinking he was going to be out the whole season, and somebody else picked him up. So I was never able to get him back, and it kind of gave me trouble through the rest of the season. But I ended up having a good season in both leagues, so it didn't hurt me as bad as I thought it was going to. So I survived.
He survived. When we come back after the break, we'll talk about the battle for the number one draft pick, and then we'll preview the Monday Night Football game between Gabe's Los Angeles Rams versus the Atlanta Falcons. You're watching the Hard Count live right here on EP Sports Network.
Match your thermostat every season with the best-looking thermostat in the market, the new Omega Air thermostat. Get in touch with us even faster with a single touch on our logo. Call us today to upgrade your T-Stat at 915-704-0234 or visit online at OmegaAirConditioningTX.com. Omega Air Conditioning, the call to end all your cooling and heating problems.
Welcome back here to the Hard Count. I am Costa, joined alongside the Hall of Fame coach Tony Grijalva and Gabe Grijalva. Gentlemen, the battle for number one draft pick took place, and I think the Raiders kind of want that spot there as the Giants knock them off 34-10 there. They're in Las Vegas. Very, very, very tough outing for those Raiders.
Well, the talk all week had been, and then after the game, it was the same thing. The Raiders made it very clear they had no desire to win the ball game. They just showed up. When you look at, they put Max Crosby on IR, and made a couple of other moves. I mean, what does that tell you? What does that tell that locker room, actually? But 34-10 for the Giants. The Giants, I guess. The difference to me was the Giants have younger players that don't know any better than they're going to go out there and win a ball game. That's pretty much what they did. And the game wasn't even as close as the score, 34-10. So good thing for the Giants, and they don't worry too much about a draft pick. They're more worried about building that momentum for next season. So kudos to them.
Now, Gabe, if you're the Raiders and you're wanting this number one draft pick, what's the mentality of who you think? I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but who do you go for as that number one pick? You going for a quarterback, even though you spent a lot of money on Geno, or are you going offensive line?
No, you're absolutely going for a quarterback. There's to me, there's no question. You need a face of the franchise. You need somebody to take you in, into the future, into the next 10, 12 years, whatever that may be. But no, you definitely have to go for a quarterback. The difference in this particular game between the two teams, and that's why the Giants, I thought no question they were going to win, is they have their quarterback. They have a running back,
Mhm.
although he was hurt. So they have running back for next year. They have a top wide receiver for next year. So they're pretty much set. So whether they got the number one pick or not for the Giants, I don't think was a big deal. And that's the complete opposite of the Raiders. This pick is going to be everything to them. It's going to set the tone for their future, uh, you know, going forward. And it starts with the quarterback, as we all know. You got to have a quarterback, to take you where you need to go. So to me, it's a no brainer.
If not, there's a number 12 that's up there in the owner's booth that might want to suit up and give it one more year there, do that player coach type of thing there. You have to
Well,
give up
he's
his
part owner
broadcasting gig.
already. So.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if you want to take all those hits because Tampa Bay was a different scenario than it was there. As we move into a nice game that we saw yesterday, Coach, as the defending Super Bowl champs, Philadelphia Eagles headed to Buffalo. It was kind of like a low scoring game early on, but the Bills could not secure it, losing to the Eagles 13-12 there. Just some unfortunate, again, going to the kicker, missing that extra point there, Coach.
Yeah, that was a big difference. But you know what? Yeah, we were sitting here watching that ball game. I think we're doing more talking than we were watching. It wasn't a real fun game to watch, actually, but a lot of mistakes, a lot of defense. What surprised me the most was the Eagles defense, who before this past week they were you know they were getting trashed by everybody, run game, everything else. And yesterday against the Bills, I mean, they shut down James Cook. They shut down the whole offense, actually, and kudos to them. I think if they want to have the Eagles want to have any success in the playoffs, though, boy, they gotta do something about that offense. You have Saquon Barkley and you have AJ Brown, and you still have trouble scoring points. That's worrisome.
That is worrisome there. Well, it sounds like a whistle. What is that? Is that like some little rocket there? But yeah, the
Yep.
Eagles, the Eagles, getting that they got the win. A win's a win, but it was not
Yep.
pretty at all, especially in that NFC. That's just going to be pretty tough. As we'll talk a little bit later on. Is those San Francisco 49ers and the Chicago Bears. So there, as we move on to that, actually, there, Gabe. 49ers, they're dueling it out with Chicago 42-38. What can you say about those 49ers and Brock Purdy?
Well, man, that their offense is you know virtually unstoppable. I mean, they were going up and down the field, left and right. I think maybe they punted twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But this team was this game was a contrast to the one we were previously talking about with Buffalo and the
Yes.
Eagles. Yeah, that was ugly offensively, all the way around. This was the complete opposite. It was ugly defensively. Neither team could stop anybody. It was whoever had the ball last was going to win the game, and
Mhm.
that pretty much happened. Except Chicago had the ball last and had a chance to win the game, and they couldn't quite pull it out. But it was a great day for offense. It was a great day for people who had fantasy players on either of these teams because this week was championship week. So, some championships were won because of this particular game. But both teams are impressive, like I said, offensively. Uh, just from a defensive standpoint, I think if
Oh, he looks like he
in the
froze there.
playoffs,
There he is.
in the
There's the.
playoffs,
There we go.
they're
Can
gonna
you?
have to shore up that defense.
And there's Gabe. There we go. That is a crazy one there. I know the 49er Freefall, their blood pressure was probably spiking throughout the roofs because I can hear it down the street, from the house there. But new look with Brock Purdy in that whole scenario there. I know a lot of people were questioning why he got the big contract and all that, but he's been quietly proving that, and it's going to be a tough one. And going back to those Chicago Bears, a lot of people were writing them off early on. I know we were kind of like shaking our heads, like, okay, is
Mhm.
Williams the real deal? Well, they just won the NFC North, which we thought was going to be one of the most tough, divisions in NFL football this year, and they knocked them off, and the Bears are the Bears of old. What it looks like, Coach.
Yeah, one of the things that's very obvious for both of these quarterbacks is their experience leads to confidence, and you could see both quarterbacks when they're out there on the field. I mean, they were confident that they could score, especially when you look at the score. It was tied at 7, it was tied at 14, it was tied at 21, it was tied at 28, it was tied at 35. So I mean, neither of these quarterbacks, neither of these offenses were backing down, and you could see that from the start, and that's what makes this game. That's what made it interesting to watch. The Bears have surprised a lot of people, yes, and I think they will continue to surprise some people in the playoffs as well.
Especially if they got to go out there to the Windy City. And like I said, it's a lot of people don't like the cold, but hey, that's football weather there. Speaking of cold, the Atlanta Falcons, we've seen them be hot, we've seen them be cold, and everything in between. Going up against the Los Angeles Rams tonight here, Gabe. Your Rams 11-4. What do your Rams got to do? I mean, you guys are in a tough division, minus Arizona, but it's still a tough division there. What do they got to do to get ready for the postseason?
Just continue to do what they're doing. Going back to the game 2 weeks ago, they had it in hand, up by 14, no 16, with 9 minutes left, and they just couldn't close the deal, and that's gonna be the thing they have to do is just finish. Not three quarters a game, not half a game. They need to just finish, and as long as they do that, I think they'll be okay. I think they'll be okay. They just need to be consistent and avoid injuries and get their guys back. Get Devontae Adams back. I know he's not going to play the next 2 games. He'll be ready for the playoffs. So, just like I said, just continue to do what they do, minus those little mistakes, and shore up that special teams. That's what gives them problems. Their special teams
Yeah.
isn't the greatest.
Yeah, what do you guys got for a score there, Coach? We'll start with you. What do you think the Rams will do against those Falcons?
Well, this last 2 weeks of the season really they're hard to figure because you've got teams that are out of the playoffs, you got teams that need to win, and then you got teams that are going into the playoffs and are sort of taking it easy and taking their foot off the gas pedal. I don't know if the Rams are going to be one of those. I'm under the impression that the more momentum you can get going into the playoffs, the better you're going to play. So I see right now the Rams probably scoring maybe 28 points and holding the Falcons to maybe 10, something like that. I think would be a pretty common score.
And Gabe, what do you look for your Rams versus those Dirty Birds from Atlanta, the Atlanta Falcons?
Yeah, I think the Rams are averaging the last several games well into the 30s. So I'll say they'll get to 30. Atlanta is like my brother says, like they you don't know which one's going to show up. They've had some good games. They dominated the Bills, on a Monday night. And then the other games they just don't show up. So it's interesting. At this point in the season, they're not playing for anything. So how motivated are they? So that's what's gonna determine that how this game goes. But the Rams they got to win a couple of games to solidify the number 5 seed, which means they'll play either Carolina or Tampa Bay. So I think it's worth going for it so they can play either one of those two teams in the playoffs versus going up to Philly. So they have something to play for today.
Exactly. That game will be happening around 6:05, 6:10-ish right there on ESPN or the apps that they have there for Monday Night Football. When we come back, we're going to preview the 92nd annual Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl between the Arizona State Sun Devils versus the Duke Blue Devils. We'll have some interview clips to play, and we'll get Coach and Gabe's predictions and more. You're watching the Heart Count live right here on EP Sports Network.
It's time for the Coach's Corner, right here on EP Sports Network.
And welcome back to the Hard Count. I'm Mesa Costa, joined alongside the Hall of Fame coach Tony Grijalva and Gabe Grijalva. As we saw there, the Arizona State Sun Devils arriving into El Paso. That was on Saturday. We'll start with the Sun Devils there, Coach. We'll get to the quick statement from Coach Killingham in a bit. But Arizona coming in not with their full squad. According to the reporter from Arizona, she was saying that the Week 1 roster, the starters from there, only three starters from that squad are playing in the game this upcoming Wednesday at noon. Yeah. That's a whole new look there for those Sun Devils, Coach.
Yeah, well, it certainly is, especially to face the ACC champion in the Sun Bowl is going to really make it tough. But I mean, you know, that's a scenario nowadays as far as the bowl situation is concerned. And I mean, I don't know what the future holds for bowl games. I really don't. It's going to be interesting to see, what changes, because something does have to change, especially with the opt-outs. You got these teams that deserve to win, deserve to play in a bowl game because they had a great season, and both Arizona State and Duke did have that. But then you come into the actual bowl game itself, and it's a different team, so it's going to be really interesting. But just like you mentioned, Arizona State lost their quarterback, their two running backs, their two wide receivers, all starters. It's going to come down to how well do these the second team players, the substitute players, how well are they going to perform on Wednesday? That's going to be the big difference. Obviously, experience always counts, and right now the experience to me is with the Duke Blue Devils, both offensively and defensively. They do have their starting quarterback, so I think Arizona State is going to have some problems, especially at the beginning of the game, at the start of the game, trying to make those adjustments. So I'm going to look to see if what kind of adjustments Arizona State makes early, and see if they can hold up defensively against a very good offense from the Duke Blue Devils.
Well, we got to hear from Coach Killingham early on the arrival. Let's take a listen.
Fired up to be here. Unbelievable welcome. Our guys are excited. You can see the energy, and we're excited to be hosted by unbelievable host crew, led by a Sun Devil, which is awesome, and should be a great next couple days.
Two questions for Coach. We'll go with Brett.
It's your second time here. What do you remember from the first time, and what did you think when you found out you were coming back here?
Yeah, I was excited, and I just remembered this being an unbelievable hosted event. So I'm excited to be back.
One more question.
Coach, just how excited are you to be able to see Jake Fetty in action tomorrow in practice?
Yeah, that's going to be super exciting. We were joking about him, like, what were the odds when you committed to Arizona State a year and a half ago that your first practice would be in your home city? Right? What are the odds that we would come to you and your first practice as a Sun Devil would be in El Paso at home? That's a pretty special moment for him and his family.
Pretty cool situation there, Gabe, for Mr. Jake Fetty to. One, he already completed all his high school requirements, so he was able to pass a physical and some other tests to suit up, at least for practice with the Sun Devils there. How cool is it to see that young man get this experience here in his hometown?
That's really cool. That's cool. Like Coach said, it's cool for him. It's cool for his family. Heck, it's cool for all of us who appreciate sports, and for you guys, who do all the high school football and have watched his career over the years, and him taking that next step. So, it's cool, as a person from El Paso who follows that and follows the players that come out of here. It's really exciting for that to happen, and for him to be able to do that here in his hometown. So, look forward to seeing him next season. Hopefully get some playing time.
Coach, speaking ahead there, how exciting is it for you to see Fetty doing that? Because it's kind of like unheard of to see a high school senior at least get to practice in the hometown for a bowl game there.
Well, that's true. And, I look back at when he was playing here, when he was playing seventh and eighth grade. Actually, I got a chance to see him a couple of times, and being able to see him develop and go out to Del Valle and continue his career there. And I mean, you could tell obviously he's a big talent. Otherwise, he wouldn't have signed with Arizona State. But his future is very bright, and I think that one of the things that stood out to me is just his work ethic, and the way that he carries himself and pushes himself. And we saw him again when playing at Del Valle, especially this last playoff game this past season. He put his team on his back and almost carried him to a big win. And that's just something that Jake Fetty does, and I'm sure that he's going to continue that at the next level at Arizona State.
And the good thing is, Phoenix is only about 6 hours away, so we get to kind of see that kind of up close and personal there.
Yep.
Best wishes to the Fetty family as they get ready to embark on this new chapter here. But the Arizona Sun Devils have a tough task ahead of them, going to face the ACC champions here, and we got to speak to obviously the head coach Mr. Manny Diaz from the Duke Blue Devils, and to their offensive coordinator as well. So we'll take a listen to those.
There's a sentiment in college football that the Sun Bowl's hospitality is unmatched across the bowl landscape, and our welcome here backs that up. One, the Sun City shining. What a beautiful day today to come off the airplane, and then to see this, the music, the dancing. It's unique. It's something you just don't get anywhere else in the country, and I think it's what the bowl experience is all about. To introduce our guys from Duke to the city of El Paso, and our responsibility is to create a game that's worthy of the hospitality that we've received so far. So we're off to a great start and looking forward to a great week of preparation.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Thank you all.
Well, we focused in on doing routine things. I know that sounds very simple, but in this game, it's going to come down, can we do the things that we do very simple and at a high level? Because like you said, it's going to be a little bit of a layoff. And so if you're going in and doing a bunch of things that are different than what you've normally been doing, it's going to work out at high speed, high reps against the defense. And so just trying to keep things very simple for our guys and routine stuff, doing stuff over and over and over again. We've been doing it for 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and so hopefully it'll pay off.
What's one message you have for the city to come out and see you guys on New Year's Eve?
Come see one of the best offenses, one of the best teams in the country play. And it's a Power 4 champion out on the field, a team that's gritty, that most of our guys play their guts out. You're going to see them on the field, and I think it'll be a fun environment. It's probably going to come down to the last play.
And that was Coach Brewer, their offensive coordinator there. Apologize for the wind. It was a little windy. Not as windy as it is today, but still a little bit of wind there. But Coach Diaz and Coach Brewer are excited. They both, Coach Brewer spoke today also during the offensive coordinators conference. Tomorrow we'll get to hear from head coach Manny Diaz as they'll do their press conference at 10 a.m. Coach Grijalva will try to be out there. So will Eddie Morelos there. But Coach, the Duke Blue Devils, defending ACC champs there. A lot of people will say, hey, well, Miami should have been there too as well. But Duke got the title there coming to the Sun City, and they look very excited to be here.
Yeah, they are. And, I look at it, obviously, to me, from a coach's standpoint. And, I think one of the things that Coach Brew mentioned was, the extra 2 or 3 weeks of practice. And I think that's something that a lot of people, probably don't really think about, unless you're a coach, because you have the opportunity to coach your team for 3 extra weeks heading into next year. And that, to me, that's a big advantage. And I think that's something that if you talk to any coach coordinator, they're going to tell you how important this week is, especially with the opt-outs and those that are no longer going to be at Duke and Arizona State next year. Now you're getting, in these last 3 weeks of practice, you're getting the students that are going to, the athletes that are going to stay there, that you're going to look forward to using in 2026. So I think if you look at it in that sense, yeah, coaches are really excited about, this is like a scrimmage. It's like a big scrimmage for what to look forward to next season.
And yesterday I got to speak to three of the Duke Blue Devil players here. Let's take a listen on those.
Practices in since the break. How you feel the teams, getting back into this game speed and ready for the bowl game?
Yeah, I think we've done a solid job. I feel like we've done really well as far as keeping it balanced. Went out last night to the little steakhouse, and that was a great time. So that, and then coming out here and when the work's got to be done. So I think we've all done a great job of locking in on that.
For you, what does it mean to play for Duke and be a pro?
It means the world to me. 4 years ago when I got to Duke football wasn't really popping at the moment, but it's been a blessing to be able to be a part of a big turnaround for a program. It's an opportunity I don't think that many people have, and just to be a part of that and be here for the whole ride has been amazing. I wouldn't change anything for the world.
What's one message you have for your Duke fans and for the city of El Paso?
City of El Paso, thank you so much for being a gracious host. It's been amazing thus far. And Duke fans, we're going to go out there on Wednesday and do what we do, secure a W.
As soon as you guys landed, getting to play, here late in the year.
Yeah, El Paso is awesome. That's obviously, it's my first time in Texas, and I feel like we're in Mexico, but it's awesome down here. So the land's beautiful, everyone's so nice, we love it. But the vibes always win the football game, right, at the end of the day. So we're coming out here, we're practicing, we've had a really good past 2 practices. So we're looking forward to it, and it's going to be a really good game.
What's one message you have for the city on what they should expect from you guys?
A win. It's going to be a great game, so come out there and support, and it's going to be awesome.
So Gabe, there you see the excitement from the Duke Blue Devil players there, and of course, experience is going to be key in this game. How excited are you for seeing this Sun Bowl?
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be a great matchup. To see an ACC champion play in the Sun Bowl, and try and finish out their season. Of course, they don't want to coming off a big ACC championship and come down here and not perform. So I think you're going to get the best of them. They're going to kind of put a stamp on this season with this game. So I think you're going to see a lot from them, a lot of offense and a high scoring, game from their standpoint.
And Coach, seeing those from especially the quarterback, he seems poised and ready to go. Oh, yeah. What do you expect from the Duke Blue Devils?
Well, one of the things in doing the prep for the game, it's Coach Manadia's first year at Duke. So, to be there the first year and win an ACC championship obviously is an accomplishment. But you talk to him, and to him, it's all about the future. It's all about continuing to build the motivation and the culture of Duke football, and I think that's what his main concern is. And they've had a great season. Yeah, this is a game where they're going to celebrate it, but it's also a game where they want to perform, like my brother says, and look forward to next season.
So, gentlemen, final score predictions for this Sun Bowl. Gabe, we'll start with you.
Like I'm saying, I'm expecting a lot from Duke. I think they're gonna try and make a statement, kind of close out their season. So I'm looking something like 38-17. Duke.
Coach.
Yeah, I think Duke will win the game, or something like 34-14. I think would be a pretty good score.
I'm trying to remember the last shootout we had at the Sun Bowl. It's been a while. I know last year's comeback game there, I believe, for Louisville, but it's going to be a good one. I don't really feel like running up and down the sidelines, so I'll stick into my sides of the end zone to shoot on that. But we'll let the younger generation go and do that. But I'm excited. Weather should be nice and brisk. I know people are going to be like, "Oh, it's going to be cold." Yeah, but once that sun hits, as long as there's no snow. Because we're really not prepped for snow. If not, I better get some trash bags so we can wrap the cameras there. But it should be exciting nevertheless. And for folks that want to go check out that game, remember, tickets are on sale now. I suggest you go to the Sun Bowl office there off of Pinnacle, I believe. That's the best deal that you can get for those tickets because you don't have to pay those Ticketmaster handling fees there. So a lot of tickets are still kind of left on there, which is going to be a great day. Eddie Morello's will be walking around getting some tailgate stuff Going to give him some prizes as well to give out for some of the, I guess, trivia questions that he's going to be asking. We have some, I guess I'm going to let the cat out of the bag. We got some Aaron Rodgers autographed football little mini plates that we'll be giving away out there. So go and look for the mayor out there. He'll be walking around with his nice little camera and microphone there, and see if you can win one of those autograph Aaron Rodgers, future Hall of Famer, regardless if you like him or you don't. Gentleman's going to be in the Hall of Fame there. You can get a nice little collectible there. So, gentlemen, this is the last show for 2025. We still have football season continuing for the NFL, but it's been a good 2025 there. Your final thoughts on the year, Gabe? We'll start with you.
Well, like every season it has its ups and downs. I'd be actually curious to go back and listen to one of our shows from like week 3, and just to listen to how different things are, just how things changed, what we thought was going to happen, and where we are now. So that's what makes every season interesting. So it's been fun. It's glad to be back, and we got another big week, last week of the season coming up, and then see where things fall. So I'm looking forward to it.
Coach?
Yeah, it's 18. It's an 18-week season, so sometimes things can change from early in the season to now, which they have. I'm just interesting to see how things are going to end up. The predictions before the start of the season on who was going to be in the Super Bowl, who was going to be in the playoffs. Most of that you can throw out the window because that isn't right. You got to refigure those. But it'll be an interesting couple of weeks of the playoffs to see who gets into the Super Bowl. I'm looking forward to it.
One thing we do know, there won't be a Mahomes in the postseason or the Super Bowl
Right.
this year, unfortunately. Wishing him a speedy recovery there. I know the Kansas City fans are kind of like mad at that one. But, gentlemen, it's been a good 2025. I am excited for 2026, and we will be back next week for recaps of Week 18 of the NFL season. So until then, remember to tune in, follow us on all our social media accounts to see what we got going on. We will be having some high school basketball this Friday as well, as we'll head over to Franklin as the Eastwood Troopers will be taking on the Franklin Cougars. Both boys and girls will have that live as well. And then Tuesday, we'll head over to Bel Air as the America's Trailblazers will battle the Bel Air Highlanders. So for Gabe Grijalva, the Hall of Fame coach Tony Grijalva, I am Ace. You've been watching the Hard Count Live. We will see you guys next year. Peace. Oh, where it is. Peace.